Hey guys, it's Tim Miller of the Bulwark. I'm here with my colleague, managing editor Sam Stein. Joe Biden apparently gave his farewell address a couple minutes ago. I did not watch because I need to sort of manage my blood pressure. And for anyone who's been monitoring our content, I'm filled with murderous rage thinking about the president's behavior this year and his culpability in the current situation we're in. I'm not on medication. It's just I went to the gym this evening.
You doing dry January?
Yeah. I know I'm drinking, and I do have yoga tomorrow, and
good.
So I just couldn't do it. I've looked at some of it on text, and so there you go. But Sam, you're the newsman, and so I felt like it'd be important for you to come on and give us some historic perspective on this farewell address and what your thoughts were about it.
Just because you felt it was important, I come on. As opposed to how it really went down, which is, I felt it was important. You come on, but we won't get into that too much. Yeah. Look, I mean, I was kind of struck by just how, not depressing, but grave the tone was. And I suppose it's reflective of the times we're in. But the big takeaway is warning of oligarchy, specifically a tech industrial complex, clearly seeing AI as the preeminent competition with China, but very little by the way of optimism. I mean, obviously he had the sort of cliched lines about, we're stronger together, unity, yada, yada. I believe in this country.
We are stronger together, right?
Yeah, I think so, more or less. Okay. Yeah. I went back and I looked at his inaugural address just to sort of get a sense of the narrative arc here, and it's just sort of like, obviously he's leaving on a very bad note for him, but it is remarkable how much those themes that really personified the first address are kind of lost here. This need for unity and the idea that America has these sort of four challenges. That was the inaugural address, and this one was, in fact, it was an admission of sorts that the things that he set out to do to some degree he was unable to do.
It was an admission of sorts, because he's done a couple interviews lately when he was asked about that, where he said he did do what he wanted.
I mean, I get look, I'm not certain things he did do, like the pandemic is behind us, right? Like, I'll give him that. But
is the country united? Have we united
the inaugural address was about unifying the country, preserving institutions, and respecting democracy. It also, and I'm going to quote from the inaugural address because this one really stood out. He talks specifically about the need to kind of respect the idea of truth. And this is a quote: "And we must reject a culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured." Now, look, he only has so much control over things, obviously, and things got away from him and many others. But it is, it says something about the sort of where we are as a society, that things have gotten much worse on that front over the 4 years of his presidency.
Yeah, I want to drill down on this whole tech industrial complex element that he was talking about. It seems like he was subtweeting Elon based on, again, my reading of this.
And Zuck. I mean, he specifically said fact-checking is needed, and which is an obvious reference to the Meta announcement this past week.
It's interesting. Well, just one quick aside. It doesn't really work for me. Tech industrial complex, the military industrial complex. It's not really an apt comparison. But since it's outside of government companies, not contractors. But
they have contracts.
I think what?
They have contracts. Some of them.
I mean,
separate companies. But yes, go ahead.
Sure.
All right, go ahead. Make your point.
Has some contracts.
Sure.
I just think it's the element, though, that is interesting to me, politically speaking, is this attack on the big tech oligarchs emerged in the last 3 weeks, right? This criticism of big tech oligarchs, and for that to be the farewell address, I think is interesting. I think it's a potent attack, and I think it's probably one that the Democrats should end up leaning into. I just think it's interesting.
Do they have another option? That's the thing.
That's the point. We just went through this whole campaign where that was not really what the Democrats were doing, right? Trying to take on the mantle of the regular Joe against these rich people trying to, impact your lives. That wasn't, that was like a Bernie message in 2016. You did the interview with the Bernie advisor. That was not the Democrats' message this year. I thought it was interesting that that's kind of the new, fresh thing
Right.
Like farewell addresses don't usually have a new, fresh thing, right? But so that you added this thing that has come into focus as a political challenge and a political opportunity, I think, for the Democrats, like over the last month, as Musk and Bezos have started sucking up to Trump, right? In a world where, and Zuckerberg, in a world where Zuckerberg and all these guys aren't sucking up to Trump, I don't think that's in the farewell address.
I agree with that. And it is, I think your history is spot on, which is there were people in the Democratic Party saying, you need to actually lean a lot harder into concentration of power, anti-monopoly messaging. And actually his record is fairly decent on that. I mean, Lena Khan is a scourge of these people, but Biden stuck by her. And yet, like, God knows, I mean, I'm thinking back to anything Kamala Harris said in her stint as a candidate, and I cannot recall too much by the way of, hey, the richest man in the world wants to elect this guy, like we need to stand up to that. And I just think they lost a lot on that. Not only they got the worst of all worlds, right? Like they pissed off Zuckerberg because of a variety of reasons. They pissed off Elon, obviously. And yet they didn't actually try to extract too much political gain from the fact that Elon was cozying up with Trump.
Yeah. I think that we're going to see a lot of that in 2025 and 2026. Yeah. It's intriguing that that's where he leaves us.
Well, the weird irony, of course, is that here's Joe Biden, the oldest living president, who, frankly, and we're just being honest, like he cannot deliver a speech without stumbling. He clearly has very little tech know-how. I don't think that's like insulting. He just doesn't have it. And he's the one who's got to deliver or is delivering this message about modern technology posing these incredible threats. I don't know if he's the best messenger on that, to be frank about it. But it is kind of interesting. And I really do think the AI stuff, I know Ezra Klein talked about it in his column recently, but the degree to which the Biden officials, as they are leaving the door, are all saying the AI race has to be won by America or we will be a secondary power to China, I think is a remarkable policy admission on their part.
It is, and it's true, and it does. I feel compelled now to mention that one of the other big tech oligarchs, Mark Andreessen, is one of the most influential VCs in the world and one of the richest guys, has been interviewing Trump officials, apparently.
DOD officials specifically. It's very odd. Like the whole thing, they're staffing these positions. They're feeding the administration with their allies. They are funding the inauguration. They will literally be flanking Donald Trump on the dais. There is a weird oligarchical element to all this. I don't think it's wrong.
I mean, I can understand how some people who don't pay attention to this stuff that closely might think like, oh, these are buzzwords. They were talking about autocracy for a while, and now it's oligarchy. But it's kind of like this developed like late in the campaign, right? That these big rich tech guys have glommed onto Trump. Anyway, one of the rationales that Andreessen put forth for this, to your point about how like the Biden administration somehow got punished for their policy going after the tech monopolies, but then also didn't get any of the political benefit. Andreessen was on Barry Weiss's podcast and like gave a story that felt apocryphal to me, but who knows, about how he was talking to a Biden administration official who was saying to them that they wanted to shut down AI and control it and that they were concerned about AI, right? And this is what Andreessen was like really upset about this. He's like, no, America, we should be building. And so it ends up being exactly the opposite that, is the case on the way out. So that's the other thing about these rich guys. Like they some of this stuff is legit concerns about Biden, but some of it is like they've fabricated this in order to rationalize.
Obviously, like there's huge question about regulation of AI and privacy rights and all that stuff. And it's possible, I'm not an expert on it, but it's possible that the administration was taking a very consumer-specific approach to it and trying to, maybe the regulations were burdensome. But like, this actually gets to the story of why Elon kind of drifted from Biden, which I think is, and people don't really appreciate this story, but I was talking to Rokana for a video that we did about the story, and it's just Biden has this clean this electric vehicle summit at the White House.
Didn't invite him.
But he didn't invite him because Tesla factories aren't unionized, and Biden wanted to show support to union laborers, and he didn't have him there, and that's why Elon got pissed And then the whole, I don't know if that's the butterfly flapping its wings, but Roe was like, he should have just invited him and sat him next to Sean Fain, the head of the UAW, and like had fun with it. And I think Roe's probably right. I don't know if anything would have changed, but the thing that is interesting to me about these tech giants is how much it really comes down to feeling personally insulted, and they weren't personally advised and embraced by Biden. And Trump is good at that stuff. And I think Biden, look, in this, just to tie back to the farewell address, it's like Biden leaves basically having put his lot in for union workers in that way, and watching those union workers drift to Trump and the tech oligarchs and the auto manufacturers drift to Trump. And it's just like a torturous last chapter, and really a unfitting coda, I guess, to his career.
Well, I'm gonna have to go do a little more yoga. Thanks for bringing me, making me do this, Sam. I will say this. I want to add one thing. Here's my potentially nice thing about the Biden farewell address. It's sometimes hard to get like the appropriate distance from all of this and to kind of see how things are going to shake out. Yeah. Many of our more progressive viewers and listeners might not have fond particular memories of Ronald Reagan's policies, but Reagan's farewell address has like aged very well. And for people who have not watched that in a while, it might be something for you to do tonight. And
elaborate.
Well, he basically says that he wants to define Shining City on a Hill. He said, I always use this John Withrop phrase about the shining city on a hill, and I want to talk about what I really meant by it. And I want to leave you with that. And it's really about this, like, it's kind of a pro-immigration, pro-pluralism, about how America is somewhere where anybody can come and prosper no matter your race and religion. I don't have the exact quotes in front of me. So I'm not going to sound as pretty as whoever wrote that speech was. It might have been Peggy Noonan, I don't know. But like, with this now, it kind of reads differently to people, or to me at least. Like you might interpret it differently than you did at the time, with the context of his party being taken over 2 decades later by really an unapologetic nativist.
And it kind of raises the question, like, can you deliver an optimistic speech anymore about politics? And Trump doesn't. Trump is all American carnage and this shit sucks. And Biden was supposed to be the guy who like believed in the Shining City on the Hill stuff, and this speech was not that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess my point is maybe 2 decades hence, grade Tim and Sam will look back at this speech and be like, you know what, he really was on the ball on this AI thing. Who the hell would have known?
As our brains have chips planted in them, and we're trying to like get fed through robots and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll definitely look back.
The tech oligarchs, or as we are all like prisoners of our oligarchic overlords, and be like, Biden was really that whole tech industrial complex. That was so smarter than I thought.
Through my YouTube feed, and be like, oh yeah, that was the one I did with Tim.
You got that one right. So anyway, that's my little note of hope to end us with. That's my shining city on the hill for this YouTube feed.
Aren't you glad you came on? Aren't you glad?
I'm not. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do a little more yoga. I'll be back tomorrow. We got a doubleheader on the pod tomorrow, and another good. I got triple header tomorrow. Actually, we got so much good shit coming for you guys tomorrow.
Oh, can I tease some stuff?
Yeah, can do it.
I got a one-on-one with Faz Shakir, ex-Bernie staffer. We talked about this populist stuff. He just threw his hat in the ring for DNC chair. Dark horse candidate, 11th hour bid. We'll see what happens.
I'm interested to hear what he had to say. He's an interesting character on social media. I don't actually know him that well. So I'll be watching. Everybody else, subscribe to the feed. We'll be seeing you soon.